video is not intended for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Mornings of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki. Good morning, everyone, and we have two special guests for Thirsty Thursday this morning. Mexican Ironman, how are you doing, brother?
Great. Who are the other two special guests? I know who one of them is. That's Tom. Do we have another guy coming?
You.
Oh, shit.
You. Hi. Hello. Is anyone home?
Oh, hi, everybody.
And of course, Tom from Midnight's Edge. Good morning, Tom.
That's okay. I bring a cavalcade of voices with me.
Yes. I am Peter Whalen, Godfather. And if you're hearing this, I am long dead.
So am I. That's a coincidence.
Absolutely, positively amazing.
Oh, I can do live voices as well. But no, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to finally be here. I know this is something Mike has been wanting me to hop in on for a long time. And I'm like, Mike,
What?
that's too early in the morning for me.
It generally is.
It's too early in the morning for me, too. I don't ever remember being here.
Aren't those the best jobs, though, where, like, you just totally coasted through the whole thing and you don't remember any of it, and you're just like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, on autopilot? Yeah, I used to do that when I drove hazmat. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Ouch.
Good morning,
So you're the
everyone.
reason we're stuck in this mess right now. I'm just kidding.
Oh, no, like explosive hazmat. Like blow-up hazmat.
Oh, yeah.
Like take out 3 city blocks all at once hazmat. And good morning, everyone out there in chat. I hope you are having a great one. Good morning, Purple Valkyrie, Daryl the Dare, like Brandon the Anime Guy, Chris Purge of the Wrench of Wrenches is here, Keely Chow, Roll Tide, Keely, Roll Tide, Mark the Infinitely Tired, the Bash Brother of the South is here, Man Squatch, good morning, Leia Rose, DJ Ronnie G, good morning, Adega Outlaw, the Doctor of Disaster and Destruction, guys. Adega's new book is out now, I believe. I think that's what he was saying last night. His new book's out. Yodam Darkstar, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great one. The Lady Arwen Avalon is here. Good morning. So many great people here this morning. So, Tom, did you hear about Broadcast Yourself?
What's this?
Broadcast Yourself is the old slogan of YouTube. Broadcast Yourself.
Oh, well, they don't want you to do that no more.
No, absolutely not. They do not want you to do that anymore. They don't want you to do that in any way, shape, or form anymore. Protecting smaller content creators.
If you mean by smaller content creators like that lovely lady Brie Larson who has like 150,000 subscribers or whatever, that's small content creator to them. That's the ones they give a crap about.
Yes.
Because I can tell you from firsthand experience over the past couple weeks, they could give two craps about the rest of us. They don't care. Not at all.
But guys, I saw this amazing video where YouTube announced last night or yesterday morning that they're going to shut off the dislikes count, and how they did a research study and they spoke to tons and tons of different creators, and that in order to protect
Brie Larson and Mundane Matt.
Well, they're going to protect our fifis. They care about the small creator, and they care about the feelings, and they don't want any emotional trauma to see when someone publicly sees a dislike. Yeah.
If they really cared about our well-being, maybe they wouldn't shut all these people's channels down all the time.
Yes.
For a good reason.
Yes, that's what. If they
maybe
really
there'd
cared
be an
about
arbitration period for some of this stuff. Maybe I wouldn't be down for 2 weeks, and also down a week initially doing the time for the crime I didn't technically commit and haven't even had a trial for.
Yeah, what about the false flagging? What happens when people are getting false flagged, people are getting their channel taken down, people's livelihoods are getting flushed down the toilet because some jackass doesn't like them and wants to go after them and uses the system to do it? What about that?
That's pretty much where we're at. No, it's only something that's in place to protect people like, and that's why you pick on Brie Larson in this situation, is because that's what I mean. It's these famous people who have like a couple 100,000 subscribers. That's who it's protecting. It's not protecting us. It's not protecting anybody who actually does have a mental health problem that could rise from being, pushed to the brink, and I feel bad for a lot of the up and coming YouTubers, because shit has changed in the last few years. It used to be to where you could make a living on doing this and not have to have 100,000 subscribers. If you had a nice little following. But now that ain't the case. You have to have 500,000 subscribers, or there's just you're not making it anymore, it seems like.
I think also too is that what's really upset me as someone I've done more shows with each of you separately than I have any other channel in any way, shape, or form, and I'm just so happy the three of us are together. But one thing that's absolutely burned the snot out of me, being backstage of both you guys and both your channels, is the constant battle and war it takes for you guys to be able to exercise your rights and have free speech on this freaking platform.
Well, funnily enough, I just said this the other morning, Mike. I don't know if you were listening, but it's crazy how, because I used to work in radio, and I think my FCC license is up like maybe 2-3 years ago, actually, to be honest with you. But like, the funny thing is I can say tons of stuff I couldn't say on radio, right? Which is great. Like I can say, the F word, I can say all kinds of things, which is cool. But there's tons of stuff that I used to be able to talk about on radio with no problem, no repercussions whatsoever. In fact, I'd have been expected to talk about it. And if I even so much as utter certain words here, I'm going to get poor Stone Loki shut down. That's the reality of it. And I can't believe we live in that kind of world right now where, I get it. This is not technically like public access. I mean, it's their platform. They have the right to do what they want and tell us what we can and cannot do to an extent. But it's just pretty sad. I would think it would fall into the same kind of regulations and rules that the FCC would, if you're going to be that way about it.
And go ahead, Loki.
A lot of the time we're fighting just to keep our videos monetized. I mean, every single morning, and right now, yesterday's is pending. I talked to a woman about Star Wars. There was no cursing. There was no talk of violence. There was no talk of anything like that. And immediately, as soon as the stream was over, it went into this video isn't suitable for most advertisers, and that kills the algorithm right there. And that happens every single morning, no matter what my topic is, no matter we drop an F-bomb or not, no matter what we do, we could have a completely clean program. It's still going to tick over into that yellow box, and I'm still going to have to request a review, and I'm still going to win each and every morning, which is what I'm doing, which is what I've been doing for, I think, 3 months now. Every single morning, I am challenging it, and I'm winning it. Why would they have that on some kind of autopilot that automatically ticks over into the yellow?
I swear that there's like a naughty list. And once you get on that naughty list, there's no getting off it. It seems like, I don't know this for a fact again, but I'm just saying, it just sure feels like it, because no matter what, as soon as you get associated with certain groups of people or certain other YouTubers or anything like that, it's like, bam, you're done. They're not going to allow you to grow. I mean, look at the secondary channel for Midnight's Edge After Dark. It's a channel that I've had now for almost as long as Midnight's Edge, but yet it has been slow to gain any growth, but it is constantly under attack. And since it's not a little bit more, fortified channel like the main channel, it's constantly getting shut down. I mean, basically where I'm at right now, I'll be surprised if the channel lasts the rest of the year. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's on such shaky ground right now. I don't know if it's going to be there in the next couple months. So, I don't know.
And we've done nothing wrong. You've done nothing wrong. We've discussed nothing wrong on that channel. We've discussed it. It is a fun channel. It is a great community. It's like what happens with Valhalla in the morning. It is absolutely painful to see this shit. And having left San Jose, which is where Google is headquartered, there were two things that always stood out for me way back then. Number one is the fact that they never seem to invest in infrastructure and people. That they never seem to. Well, those are the two things: infrastructure and people. I think their infrastructure is broken and their customer service freaking sucks. I mean, just royally. The stories I hear about you guys now, I mean, there's for all of the content that creators create, they're basically giving free program. YouTube is a cash cow. It doesn't. It pay. I don't know if people know this in the stream, but I think it pays 1 cent for every minute watched if the ads are approved.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And they keep 30 to 40% of every super chat, and they don't pay that out.
I've had videos that get 20,000 views that make 52 cents, Mike.
What?
I shit you not.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then you ask them about it, and they're just like, no, it's just the way it is.
Unfreaking.
And this is what I was saying earlier. Is like when I first started here, even with the few thousand subscribers I had, I could do okay. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd squeak out a living necessarily, but I would do okay. And now it's a constant struggle every month just to keep it, on par to what it was way back when. And I've got 3 times as many subscribers now. And it's the same thing on the main channel, right? If it wasn't for super chats, guys, you guys don't understand. When they introduced that, it was almost like it was their little way of saying, we're not going to pay you anymore. It's up to the audience to pay you. Because that's really what it feels like. And it's fucking ridiculous. It's just sad. I mean.
And they keep 35%.
Yeah. And on top of the fact that they keep the percentage they keep already.
And they don't pay out till 5 weeks later after the super chat. So when someone sends a super chat, it leaves my bank account that day. But I know you guys don't see it till 4 or 5
Actually,
weeks
I would
later.
say it's more like 2 months. Because I think that usually the way we're seeing it is when we get paid for this month, when we get paid, it's actually from the month prior to that.
Yes. Yeah. So when we get paid in November, it's the money we made in October up to the 21st. So it goes from 21st to 21st.
Yes.
Every 21st of the month, we'll get paid for what we made up to the 21st of last month.
So when I super chat you guys today, if you're on a show and it's something amazing that has inspired me and moved me, and I throw my support at you guys, actually don't see it for 45 to 60 days later.
Pretty much.
And that's after YouTube keeps its 35% cut.
Of course.
Wow.
And I've actually heard it's more like 40% now.
It might be. I've heard that. I wouldn't know because I'm not.
No, it used to be 70, 70-30 or whatever, but now I think it's 60-40.
Wow. That's astounding to me.
And that's the other thing too, is they keep one of the ads. So there's one ad if they show it, we don't get any of that. And that's usually the first ad that you can't skip. And then there's the skippable ad. That's usually the one that's for us, from my understanding. It's ridiculous bullshit. They totally changed everything about 4 years ago. When they changed all that stuff to where you had to have X amount of hours and X amount of subscribers and all that business.
Yeah.
When all that happened, that's when everything changed.
So I never even noticed till Loki mentioned in the pre-show, prior to the show. I totally forgot, Loki, that the slogan of this thing was "Broadcast Yourself." I remember when that got rolled out so many years ago, and I actually thought about, maybe I can talk about taxes. I was going to have a tax table. I mean, can you imagine how boring that would have been? I show like how many subs would I have gotten? Like 2. My mom and maybe my brother and probably my employees, right?
No, you get one of those. You get one of those hats, one of those cool like teller hats, with the green visor, the see-through green visor, and you get a smoke hanging out of your mouth, and you're like 24 times 85 to the next dollar, cha-ching, and
I was gonna say, isn't there that one show on like MSNBC or something like that where the guys are like all they're doing is like stock stuff, but they try to make it so freaking like exciting, like they're all just yelling and screaming about it, and they're going back and forth and all this.
Oh, that's what I can do. I can like.
I don't know if it's MSNBC, but it's one of those channels. Yeah,
CNBC. I'd be like, and then you can get a refund. Boom.
We got a bull market this morning. We're just like, they're just going off like it's like this is not that exciting stuff, guys.
So what do you guys think about the whole getting rid of the? I mean, so let's go back to this. I want to ask you this. Like, I find the dislike thing infuriating. It's
stupid.
As a fan of channels, and you guys are creators, but as a fan of channels, the fact that I can't see likes versus dislikes pisses me off for 2 reasons. One, let's just talk about, forget fandom for a second. I'm going to talk about like technical content, and I follow other stuff besides the fandom stuff. Like I follow like pistol shooting shows and stuff like that, how-to videos, different things. When I see likes versus dislikes, I actually rely on that to tell me if most of the people in that community from a technical standpoint actually like it or not and think it's worthy or not. And that helps me gauge whether or not someone's full of shit or not, and then, but as a fandom person, I'm pissed off because the people have to have a voice, and so many of us want to just be fans. We don't want to be creators, or we don't feel that we have the skills to be the creators like Loki, like you are, Tom, like you are. And the fact that we can't know that our likes or dislikes are being represented accurately, like it's like in baseball. Imagine going to a baseball game and all you see are the runs that your team scores, but you have no idea what the other team's scoring. Like you have no idea. And what kind of game is that? What kind of game of life is that? That makes no sense to me.
Well, I know I got the first dislike I got told, I think Nick told me, he said, "Welcome to YouTube, brother." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, you got a dislike. You're on the road to fame and fortune." Okay. That was part of it. You get a dislike, and dislikes, and what DJ Ronnie G is saying, you're not doing it right if you don't get a few dislikes. That's it's YouTube. Welcome to YouTube.
And the other part of this is real. Let's get real. This is to protect optics, right?
Yes.
Like this is so things like going back to like Ghostbusters 2016 and anything else that's been ratioed to hell. They don't ever want to be able to have that again. And it's ridiculous. It's basically coddling corporations. Let's be real. That's what it's doing. That's really what it is. It's just the most asinine thing I've ever seen and heard. And I know they've talked about it for years, but I never actually thought they'd frickin' do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm totally against it. And anybody I know who actually is a true YouTuber is against it.
Yeah, because this is the way you gauge whether you are doing the right thing or you are making a mistake. Yeah, some people mess with it and abuse it and whatever, but most of the people out there, it's a way to gauge whether you're kind of on the right track or making a very, very big mistake.
There's an easy way to offense most of the abuse, and I said it yesterday morning. It's real simple, and you can't tell me they probably can't figure out how to do it. All you do is set up the system where you can't like or dislike a video until you've watched at least half or the whole video.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yep.
Holy shit.
They can do that.
That's brilliant. That would be great.
There's no excuse. And that's the thing with YouTube is they come up with some of the, and this goes right back to what I was saying before, is the shit I've been dealing with the last few weeks, it is the most, I don't know, draconian is the word, but it's just, none of it makes sense. And it's all, they respond in automated responses a lot of the time. And it's never anything to do with what you're actually trying to ask them. I mean, I got a lot of the answers I wanted out of them in the last couple of weeks, but that doesn't mean I got anything done. It just proved my initial hunches is all. And it just goes to show it how much more broken the system is than it ever has been before. And it's just, they're continually breaking it, right? It's like every time something seems to work out, they destroy it even more. prime example, when everything first shut down, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when everything first shut down, they were on like minimal staff.
Yeah.
Everything all of a sudden started working like normal. People's channels started growing. People were actually watching their videos. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden, oh, we fixed the glitch. And then everything went back to hell.
Yep. We had some problems with streaming every once in a while. It was like a stream would just get shut down in the middle. But besides that, everything was rolling like clockwork.
Exactly. Like everybody across the board that I knew's views and subscriptions were up astronomically compared to what they had been.
Jesus, you're right. I remember that now, Tom. Holy crap, you're right. Huh. That's weird. Maybe it's
it's not weird. It's just
insidious. Maybe insidious.
Insidious is the word, because yes, it just proves. I mean, every time they make a move and every time they make a change, it's.
Well, I don't know. What's the solution? Do you think we got? I mean, everybody. I keep hearing. I've been watching as a consumer who subscribes to lots of different channels and stuff. I keep seeing people say, "Go to this platform or that platform," or I don't even know if I'm naming them right. Locals, Odyssey, Rumble. I mean, our buddy Ords got jacked off of YouTube, and I know he went to Odyssey or somewhere. And
I hate to say it, we just got to keep fighting. Because none of these other platforms are ever going to reach the heights that YouTube does. And no matter what, if you haven't noticed, it's just like whenever anybody tries to get off of Twitter, they just kill whatever platform it is that's getting popular.
Yes.
They will not allow the competition.
Wait, what? Say that again? What do you mean they get?
Like what was it? You had Twitter and then they had that other...
Parler?
Like they did every gall darn thing they could to kill Parler as soon as they realized, oh shit, this thing's getting popular. Well, we can't have a divisive thing. We have to have a place where we can control the narrative. And that's what it's all about. And so we just got to keep fighting. We got to keep fighting. There's nothing we can all do other than that. I mean, go ahead and make other channels on other places. I'm not saying don't do that. But I'm not going to waste my time and energy on that when the fight is here. That's the way I see it. And if we go scattering, they're just going to win. Right? Like, and I'm not talking about a side of like Republican versus Democrat or anything like that. I'm just talking about those who want to be able to speak their minds and have freedom of speech and thought, and those who want to control you, right? And that's where we're at right now. That's the two different kind of sides we have at this moment in time. And yeah, Keely Chow, the narrative's fucked, just like Raging Rhinos.
Yes.
Excuse my
Tide, brother. Oh, no, you're fine. Do you think? Because I remember when everything got shut down because of the coup. It was almost like YouTube was on automatic.
Yeah, that's
and
what
people
I mean.
were doing stuff from home, and they've done everything they can to shut that down.
Well, and granted, part of it was, the fact that you just said you had people home compared to what we used to. So of course you're going to notice a little bit of an uptick, but there was just such a massive, like, it felt like the handcuffs were taken off for a couple of weeks. It was really weird. Like nothing was getting demonetized. You weren't getting all these normal issues we have with viewership and getting people unsubscribed. I mean, we've run into where people who are actual members get unsubscribed all the time.
I mean, I've been unsubscribed. I mean, to me, it was astounding that I got. I've been unsubscribed from Loki's channel. I think that happened like a year ago before the lockdown and stuff, and it just offended me. But I know it was. I think Tom, I went on a show with you, and I was like, "How do I get unsubscribed from Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark?"
Yeah, because you're a member on both channels, plus on top of everything else. So it's like, how the hell does that work out? I've been unsubscribed from the main channel before too.
Well, I'm a firm believer in not constantly checking your numbers, but over the course of the last month, I have kept track, and it seems like anytime I get a subscriber or two, you lose one or two the very next day. And that happened last night. I was at 13, and now I'm at 1511. I don't keep track of my numbers. I don't want to keep track of my numbers, but someone said keep an eye on your numbers over the next couple of months because they are changing the way the algorithm works. And I'm like, oh great, well, how are they going to do that again? But Shane Nolan, who is a daily member, he comes in the audience almost every single day. We do this. Came in and said, I checked before I got on that morning, and I was at 15:09. I was at 15:10 the night before. He comes in, he says, Loki, I got unsubscribed over the night. I'm resubscribed, and I ring the bell, and I look, and what do you know? I'm at 15:10 again. And
No,
I've never seen that till now. I mean, I've it's happened to me once or twice on other people's channels. To me, I've been unsubscribed, but I figured, oh well, I just hadn't watched them in so long. But then it happens like to somebody like that, and I'm like, well, shit. If they're taking out people that are in the chat every single morning, they can just wipe you out overnight.
Yep. Yeah, and there's not much you can do about it either.
Or they wipe out over time, which I think a lot of it too is, I think it's a war of attrition. I really think that they make this thing, they're making YouTube harder by making it harder for smaller creators to grow. I think that what they do is that's another way of protecting these big ass corporations that they cater to. I have two YouTube IDs. I have Mexican Ironman and Mexican Ironman Live. Mexican Ironman Live is on my iPad, and which is generally in my kitchen and when I take breaks. And then I got my iPhone, and of course, if I'm on the computer screen. But I watch the feeds between my iPhone and my iPad to see what Mexican Ironman Live gets, which, by the way, is not it's like I look at the feeds, and the feeds are different, and it's really fascinating to me how a lot of things that I watch aren't like they just don't show up in that feed at all. And the Mexican Ironman Live account, that one's got unsubscribed probably multiple times from multiple channels that I'm a sub from. And I noticed that I really think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep you guys' voices down, limited, and locked. And I really think this algorithm is programmed to keep it limited and locked so it doesn't share with as much new viewers, because the stuff that I get on my feeds, guys, it's stuff I'm never freaking interested in. It's like weird shit videos that are like way off the rail. A lot of political stuff I'm not interested in on both sides of the aisle. A lot of like channels that I've never been to, that are big and huge. Like there's this one guy that does interviews. I can't even remember his name. I've unsubscribed. I've turned on the thing that I don't want his notifications. I just can't remember the guy's name. He's like a big time YouTuber. He's constantly showing up on my feeds, and I put on the thing that I don't want to get a notification from. Like he's a weirdo. And they keep popping up. These guys, clearer than YouTube, have some list of the hit list, and then they've got some list of like who the hell that they think that they like and love. And for me as a consumer, I'm not getting what I want. That's why I asked a question about, maybe we need to go to another platform. But then I listen to what Tom say, and I watch Loki, and Loki always talks about never bending the knee. And I'm listening to what Tom said, which makes complete and total sense. The fight is here. I guess the fight is here. And as freaking frustrating as YouTube is, I guess we just got to fight.
You can back your stuff up. I'm not trying to tell anybody not to do that, but I've had a lot of people say, well, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? It's like, yeah, but once they start sending us scattered, then that's where we lose. We're weaker in that sense, right? Like, just like Planet of the Apes strong together like a bundle of sticks, right? Like, the moment we start scattering is when we don't have each other's back, when we don't see the bullshit and the nonsense. And it goes beyond political stuff, right? Like, because we were having this problem before the politics got involved. It just used to be like, even if you just bad-mouthed a movie. I mean, famously, I don't know if you were around Stone Loki at the time, but Andre and I were discussing Captain Marvel live because he got to see it live. We got shut down midstream. We weren't showing any pictures, weren't showing any video. There was nothing but him and I talking like you and I and Mike are right now.
Yep,
all of a sudden, dead in the middle of the stream. As soon as Andre started getting critical of the movie, we were done. And I can't get into the logistics of what happened behind the scenes, but we got a pretty good idea of what happened. So when people try and tell us, oh, you guys are just full of shit and conspiracy theories and bullshit. No, we've experienced this crap first damn hand. In fact, we've even gotten the no from Disney before on certain things. So don't tell us we don't know that they know we exist. And I mean, it's probably been long enough now that I can pretty much say this. We had Jim Zub, the guy who's working on Conan on before. He did not get the pass by Disney to come on.
Wait, what?
Yeah. They told him no. But the guy at Marvel, one of the guys at Marvel said, look, we need this, basically, in so many words. So they're like, they re-asked, and they kind of got a maybe kind of thing out of him, I guess. So they're like, well, that's good enough for me, just do it. And that's kind of how it happened, because they did not want them associated with us whatsoever. And so
I didn't know this story. Are you serious?
that's the best version I can probably tell him. Andre probably get pissed for me for telling that part. But I don't, at this point, there was even things that we've gone through and had to deal with prior to that. So we've had other interviews and things that have told us no, and specifically why, right? I can't say who, but let's just say there's somebody tangentially connected to somebody over there, let's just say. And we were going to get an interview with them, and they said, no, we cannot do it because your channel is associated with misogyny and white supremacy, all this bullshit.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I love that. Ist ob Yahtzee.
Yeah.
We're all Ist ob Yahtzees.
Yeah, it's just like that what is it, whatever Ripley thing it was last year, and that other guy who had that bubble chart that he was putting all the YouTube channels in. Oh yeah. That's what all this is about. That's where everybody got kind of blacklisted.
Oh shit, I remember that chart.
But we're not.
We're not.
Yeah, right.
No.
I mean,
no.
just look at this show this morning. I've been with you for what, a year and a half. I've been watching Midnight Stage for 2 years. I've known Tom pretty well now, especially this last year. And I mean, oh God, this is just wow. I didn't know that story, Tom. That's
well,
crazy.
And here's another thing. People don't stop to think of. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but I got Nicholas Meyer to talk to us. That was a big deal. That caused a lot of issues behind the scenes at Star Trek. And you can't imagine that he didn't know what he was up to a point. I mean, it was a challenge, but I can't get into the logistics of it all, but you cannot tell me that he didn't know he wasn't supposed to go on our channel.
Well, you're talking about the guy from Wrath of Khan, right?
Yeah.
You get that. PJ would probably kill me for saying this, but I was having a conversation backstage with Joe Malozzi one day, and you definitely get the idea that it's not acceptable for the producers, for Hollywood, for the industry, for anybody out there to be talking to any of us. And it's choice. It's like what Cameron does, what Cameron Paja does.
Yeah.
That's his choice. He's going to make that choice, and he understands he will live with the consequences of that choice. But the fact that there are consequences at all is the biggest giant pile of horse shit. They're up their own ass, and like I've told Mike, like I've told my crew here, they don't see things the way we see things. We're plebs. It is the Roman arena. We're the plebs. It's bred in circuses, and we're the plebs in the cheap seats eating bread, and they're the Roman elite, drinking their wine in the luxury boxes. That's just the way it is.
You're
It's
right.
the way their life is.
Right. Like, I mean, a prime example, like I just brought up the Nicholas Meyer thing. It was back and forth. Then all of a sudden, at the last second, it was, let's do this right now over the phone. Bam. And it was like, it was kind of the same thing with Zub. And it's like, you get to a point where I think we're seeing a bit of a change in the tide. I mean, between the Rittenhouse case that's going on in front of everybody's eyes, and they can see the lies that the media has been spreading all this time. Just between the fact that we've been shut down all this time and people are starting to ask real questions, and we're sick and tired of being told, just believe us, when we've been told, when we caught you lying to us 100,000 times now, and when it comes to being a YouTuber and on this platform, they're just a part of the problem, right? They're just a part of they're just another cog in that wheel. It doesn't really, I mean, they're not even the big problem, but they're part of the big problem, if that makes sense. I mean, Facebook is a big part of the problem. Twitter's another big part of the problem. I mean, the fact that Ricada did so well the last few days with what is going on, that to me speaks volumes, taking us back to the original point. To me, it takes, it takes all of us to finally stand up and say enough's enough. You know, I mean, I've gotten into spats with a few other YouTubers and stuff like that, talking about how we should handle certain things like that. And I'm one of the ones that's on the idea of, you know, sooner or later we're going to have to start fighting fire with fire. We can't keep taking the high road, because sooner or later there's going to be no more road for us to take. They're going to take it all away from us. And they already have. And that's the problem, is once you let a whiny kid get their way the first time, you can't stop that anymore. And that's where we've come to. And it's not just the whiny kids now. It's the people that have put those ideas in their heads. And there's so many of our friends and family who are basically brainwashed now. It's like, how do we get past this? I mean, they've ruined the family structure on purpose. It's so we don't have anybody to stand up with us, and we feel alone. So we feel like we have to go with the crowd, because if we don't, then we're going to be ostracized, or we're going to be left out, or we won't even be able to feed our families or whatever. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I didn't mean to get onto the show and talk about all like depressing stuff, but I didn't even know what the topic was today. So, the Nick Meyer interview is actually on Midnight's Edge, Darth Maul. So you can find it there in the interview section of the playlists.
Wow.
I mean, he doesn't give us a lot of stuff, because I mean, he's under NDA. I mean, what can he do? You know.
See, I think I've said this to Loki before. I really think that I think the more vocal channels have to be being watched by somebody at YouTube. I think Loki's on this list because I just know it. I just feel it. I know.
Well, I know some of the shit I've said. Yeah, I completely go against their narrative. I completely go against the industry's narrative.
You know, and then I see things that, like, Loki, you'll do a show, and then I see some of the random tweets that come out on Twitter from someone random who's not in Valhalla. And I mean, you know, in these accounts, these weird accounts, and Tom, we get them too, man. I said these comments on the videos of the shows, or people show up. It's like harassment. I mean, I think in the morning now they don't show up as much in the stream, but also we have this great crew wrenches, and in the afternoons, in the morning shows, you know, Midnight's Edge, you know, we have these weirdos that show up. But I really think that guys like you two, who are, to me, things got really interesting in the last few years, because as a tax guy, for the first time now, internet broadcasting has its own IRS code. It has its own standard industry code that's now in the tax codes. Before it wasn't there. It was just, you're the print electronic media, you're a broadcaster, like, you know, on the airwaves, the classic sense or whatever. Now internet broadcasting has its own code has its own number in the tax code. So it's adopted the standard industry code that had existed for like the last 7, 8, 9 years. That's huge. And what it means now is that means that there's opportunities for financing for internet broadcasting. That means that banks are noticing. And while we might be getting guys like you guys might be getting your asses kicked in YouTube, and we're fighting and fighting and fighting, the truth of the matter is that guys like you, Loki, guys like you, Tom, are the future of what broadcast needs to be. We just got to help you guys as fans. Our job here is to help you guys survive, thrive, and grow. Because if it's not for guys like you two, we are lost, because our voices are lost, because we're getting this crap shoved down. I literally cannot stand to see. I used to watch news all the time. You know where I go to my news? You know, so what's happening or commentary. I go to Loki in the morning for commentary. I go to Tom for, you know, after dark commentary, and sure, I'm on the show now, but I wasn't for a long time. And what, you know, as a fan, I go to you guys, and because you guys are truthful, you're honest, and you have integrity. Both of you do, and that's why I think we as fans love you both.
Tom, you've got Midnight's Edge in the morning now, right?
Yeah, we do it every other day.
You remember when that would have been like, people would have said, you're crazy. You're crazy. You can't do a show in the morning. Everybody's going to be there at night. Nobody's going to show up if you do a show in the morning. That's not the way it is now, because more and more people are turning to YouTube, because that's where they want to get their entertainment from. That's where they want to get their news from.
You want to know the funniest thing about our morning show? I've heard from more YouTubers on than anything else. Thank God somebody is competing with John Campia.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his numbers are like, but I'm willing to bet that we're pretty close. I mean, I used to watch him.
I did too. That's funny you say that. I'm like, should just hit the floor, because I think the more I got into Midnight's Edge, I just stopped watching him. Wow. He's so full of crap. What do you guys think of the Spider-Man thing? Have you guys I've been off YouTube for 3 or 4 days, but what do you guys think of this whole Spider-Man controversy with him? I saw a little video snippet of him, and it looks like he's like, I don't know if I mean, the guy doesn't seem like he's telling the truth. I don't know. What do you guys think of this?
I want to see the apology video. I haven't been able to see it yet, but no, I'm curious to see what happens. I'm of two minds on this. One of two things happened. Either it was a complete accident. He's telling the fucking truth. But I don't buy that. I think this is just too convenient, and it's too much like some of the other stuff we've seen out of the MCU camp. I think he was meant to leak those, and the only reason he deleted them and backed off and did any kind of apology is because people freaked the fuck out on him, by fans, that is, I mean. We'll see. I mean, if he ends up getting in trouble and he's no longer invited to, like, Sony or MCU premieres, I'll be surprised, but you never know. He might have screwed up.
Well, he sells their narrative too well. I mean, just look.
That's the problem.
When he came out of what was it, Shang-Chi? He was like, "Oh man, this is the most wild, exciting ride." Oh yeah, dude. Okay, sure it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard things about him personally. Like, I mean, he's got a goal. And once he hits a certain goal, he's going to go away, kind of thing. And then I've also heard basically that, he's not the kind of critic like we are. He's more of the thank you, may I have another kind of critic. Like, he just eats it all up. And it's all right. It's cool to be a super fan like that, to where you just love and don't matter how bad it is. I mean, but sooner or later you got to realize you're living in denial. I mean, that's just part of your...
Maybe not, though, because of the snippet I saw him talk about. He talked about, I got to protect my relationships with my studio and industry friends. Who talks that way? I don't.
Well, then maybe it was an accident. I mean, in that case, because I was starting to wonder if maybe he didn't, if it wasn't, he was prompted to do it to distract from the Eternals. That was kind of what I was getting at. Because we've seen a lot of stuff, all of a sudden now Spider-Man business, as soon as the Eternals...
See, I don't think he's smart enough, because the guy to me is a dimwit. I think he's a freaking moron and an idiot. And I'm sorry, Loki, I said on your channel, but he is.
No, but Darth Maul's right. He's an establishment critic, pretty much.
And to me, I think it's more of like he's the useful village idiot. Like, I think,
and that's where I'm saying, like, I don't think this was like an accident. I think it was on fucking purpose.
There's no way this is an accident, Tom, because you have. I think this is absolutely someone leaked it deliberately on purpose to the village idiot, and let's see if the village idiot runs with it.
Well, I was even insinuating that he was prompted to, and that's where I was saying I think his reaction was more to how people reacted, and not that he was afraid of getting in trouble. I could be wrong, because then I heard another rumor, and again, I have no basis for any of these things. I'm just because knitting circles talk. There was some other outlandish rumor going around that he had some bad experience recently at Disney World or Disneyland, and he was doing this to take it out on them. But I'm like, that makes no sense, because he's hurting Sony more than he is Disney. And if anything, Sony's the one who's going to ban him from any future events. It's not going to be Disney, probably. But then again, it's just so connected to the MCU that, and he does suck the MCU's proverbial you-know-what, like you wouldn't believe. So it just does, something's not adding up. Because for him to... he's just not the kind of person that, in his position, to just put this kind of thing out there. Unless it was a complete and utter accident, or he was prompted to do it.
What do you think, Loki?
I think if that's true, somebody needs to be asking John Campea, where on the doll did Mickey touch you?
Well, I mean, we saw Harloff, wasn't it? Harloff, who was freaking out over Galaxy's Edge. For 5 long years, I was a fan, and this is how I get repaid. I don't get ticket. These guys are completely... And we even had that one critic come out, and I can't remember the guy's name. I feel bad about it, but he flat out said he knew a bunch of his professional friends that were giving The Last Jedi a pass just so because they were worried about losing their access. And I mean, that's why I feel like we're seeing a lot of these critics scramble and even eat themselves alive over the Eternals, because they were too honest, and then they realized, oh shit, not enough of us were kind enough to the movie. We gotta fucking clean up our mess now, because Disney's pissed.
Yeah.
And then also too is Campy released a video where he was pissed off that he spent money on a vacation, got to Florida, and couldn't get on that Galaxy's Edge ride that never works.
That's what I was talking about, where he's like, for
Oh,
5 years I was a fan. For 5 years.
Huh.
Which sounds like to me you were basically lying through your teeth for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been kissing their ass for 5 years and then something didn't work out and you're pissed.
Yeah. And I mean, I heard a rumor that was the same situation with Campia, but I don't see that. Campia is not that kind of guy. Like, look, I don't personally like his whatever, just because he said a lot of stupid shit in the past. But he is a game player. So for me, this kind of thing, somebody either had to prompt him or it was complete and utterly an accident. But we also had a situation not even 2 weeks ago before Eternals came out that one journalist basically spoiled the end credits scene, and I haven't heard anything happen to them. So that's where I'm saying Disney runs a pretty tight ship. It's like, I don't even believe this whole Tom Holland thing, like he accidentally leaks stuff. I think that whole thing's an act, and it's been a marketing scheme since the start. I think it was always meant to, like they were playing it up from the start, if that makes sense. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's all marketing.
I think Disney is an insidious company. I've only, long before, going back years now, back when I had a Monica office, accounting office, I used to interact with people that had, none of them were my clients, but they were, someone either dating or family member, whatever. And I'd always heard that Disney is a tight, buttoned-up company where they govern what you say, what you do. There's an exorbitant amount of control. And generally, most of the people that got work there weren't paid well and worked like crazy. And they're just supposed to, grin and bear it. But by the same token, as having worked at a Fortune 5 company, I know that leaks happen all the time to influence narrative. And it's weird because I know, like in the fandom, people. One thing about both you guys is that you guys talk about the facts. You guys do research. I know that both of you are told so many rumors that you never talk about, and they end up coming. they end up becoming true. But you guys are rumor channels, right? Neither one of you are, both.
Well,
of you
Midnight Edge, we do dabble, but we make sure that everything's.
But even then, I know for a fact you and Andre, like double, triple, quadruple. You correlate. You say, okay, this missile's coming from this angle, but let me see if it makes sense here. Let me see if it makes sense there, and then maybe you dabble a bit, right?
To a point. Well, like that's the thing is we'll get stuff. Andre will try and double check. I'll try and double check. And then if something doesn't make sense or we can't back it up with anything at all, then we won't run with it. But if something kind of makes sense and it matches up with something else, then things start to correlate. That's a different story. But again, we do get into rumor territory, but we do make sure that it's labeled as rumor. And I double try to make sure I always say stuff that is, just me speculating or rumor as much as possible. Otherwise, I run the risk of being called, fake news and whatnot too. So it's like you got to really kind of pick and choose how you run with certain things because, there's times where we hear something that's really exciting and we could probably get a lot of clicks off it, but it could ruin our integrity in the long run if it isn't true. So, I mean, we already get saddled with a lot of shit. So it's bad enough. A lot of times we got to say, no, we've never said that, or no, you got to actually just watch the video. Because that's the thing. We get a lot of people who just comment on stuff off of either a headline or their assumption more than anything.
There's something I wanna bring up while we still have time because I know we're closing in on an hour. So young Loki is out there in the wilds of Twitter. I think I'd been on Twitter for like 2 months. I just started my channel. I think I just popped out a Joker review, and someone said something to me. And it was political, and I charged right back at them the way I do, and countered it with something. And you popped into that conversation, Tom. This was like November of 2019, I think.
Oh my!
And you said, let them have the political talk. I can't remember exactly what you said. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, let them have the political talk. Don't let yourself get pulled into the middle of it. It's not worth it. And when I started doing the live streams, when I started doing the morning show, I said, I'm not going to get political. And 99% of the time that has been true. I think occasionally when the riots were happening and there was some other crap that went on, I've pretty much kept my own political feelings to myself. I don't want to be a political channel. I don't want to be a rumor channel. There's certain things I didn't want to be. And I didn't want to run around like a chicken with my head cut off talking about, well, what could have been or what rumors are out there or anything like that. And I didn't want to be political. I didn't want to constantly push my political ideas on everybody else, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about entertainment. I'm here to be funny. I'm here to enjoy my mornings, just like my chat hopefully has enjoyed the morning. Is that something that you had to learn to stay out of, or is that something you've always just kind of been?
Well, with Midnight's Edge and just in general, I always tried to be apolitical. I mean, I'm not a political person in general. Like, I've always kind of just, I always kind of been a middle of the road kind of guy. I just kind of listen to things, and I've never even been one that's been active voter, like outside of major votes. I've never really cared. But all of a sudden, politics started getting into my entertainment. But yeah, so like my main rule has always been stay out of politics, religion, and sports, because those are the three easiest ways to lose a friend real quick. But even joking aside, it's true when it comes to specifically politics now. You know, it never used to be that way, but it is the toughest thing in the world to do, specifically not to put your own political feelings into something, but at the same time, when we're pundits and part of what we do is put our opinions out there, it is when things are getting politically driven constantly into every darn thing we watch and see, it's real tough not to comment on it after a while. And sooner or later, you just get to a point where you just get frazzled and you're like, enough's enough. You know, because, I mean, to be honest, we may get pigeonholed or pushed into a certain direction. But frankly, I'm kind of in the middle, and I see it from both angles at points. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say there isn't one side that's a little bit more heavy-handed with their bullshit, but it's still there, and it needs to stop. I mean, at least a lot of YouTubers are smart enough to where if they're going to take their political opinions to the airwaves, they start on another channel, like Jeremy, for instance. And I think Ryan Cannell just did one too. And, you know, that's the way to do it. You know, don't mix the two. That way you have your two separate audiences. But, of course, you're always going to polarize your audience, even if you do something like that. So you run that risk. And the thing about Midnight's Edge is we have a very varied crew, right? Like, we don't know everybody's political backgrounds because Andre doesn't ask. He doesn't feel like it's his business. I mean, he probably knows a lot more about me politically than most people do, but that's just because I've known him for the better part of, 6 years almost now. So like that's a little different situation. But outside of that, I don't know Mike's political background. I don't know Paulie's political background. I don't know Diego's political background. I don't know anybody's religion outside of Cameron's just because he's told people. I don't know anybody's sexual preference outside of Mike's because I know that he's got to be one of the horniest chihuahuas I ever met.
Hey, thank you for the compliment.
And Cameron, I'm pretty sure he's straight too. But you know what I mean? And obviously Andre's married and have kids. But I mean, other than that, it's not my goddamn business. I don't ask any of the ladies on Toxic Femme what their political backgrounds are, what their religion is, even if they're married or not. The only reason I know if they have kids or anything like that is because they've told me. I mean, I'm not saying I don't try to, get to know people. But as far as like personal business like that in this field, I leave that up to the individual to tell me. It's not my business or place to know. And I like to have plausible deniability when it comes to a lot of shit too, because I don't want to know, especially if it's something that's can be used against somebody. That's the last thing I want to see is somebody's kids getting attacked, somebody's significant other get attacked or whatever. I mean, it happens and there's not much you can do about it, but like when my kid became an adult, I told him, I'm like, you do realize, if you say you're my kid on shit, there's a chance that people might come after you. And he's like, all right. He was kind of prepared for it. you know. And it's the same thing if like I'm ever dating anybody or anything like that. I try to keep it away from them because it's not their. I don't need them getting a bunch of wackadoos going after them just because I didn't like a Marvel movie. You know what I mean?
No, agreed. And just like entertainment, at the end of the day, someone's sexual orientation, someone's political views doesn't define who they are. And that's the way, and the industry, the movie industry itself has that backwards. For whatever reason, they believe that your sexual orientation, your political preference make you who you are. And that doesn't make a person. You're that person. That's all that matters. You are the person that makes up that person. Your sexual orientation doesn't define who you are. Your political views do not define who you are. And in the industry, in the movie industry, they've got that bass backwards. They think that it does. When story and character development and growth and seeing a person go from just a normal farm boy to the savior of the galaxy, that's what matters. It's not your sexual orientation, your skin color, your political preference. It's who you are as a person that matters.
Well, and we got to remember, when it comes to being a celebrity, they're the most narcissistic people in the world. Even the nicest of the bunch, right? So when it comes to getting attention, they're going to do whatever they can to get attention. And when you're in a position like that, you feel like, oh, I've got all this power and influence. I should use it for good. And even if they're coming from a place of good intentions, they're still not educated enough, A, and B, a lot of cases they're not conscious of the way they're coming off, and even in they're just, how do I put this? It's just kind of like they're all Cartmans, right? Even when they appear to be trying to do something for others, they're really doing something for themselves. Because it's really just the virtue signal aspect of it. It's like, I'm doing this so I can get praise for it, right? I hate that shit. And that's really what it's all about. You know, if they were doing a lot of this stuff behind the scenes and you didn't know about it and it was all these other things, that'd be a different story. But like, all these people are doing this shit is to just get a pat on the back and a bunch of applause. And so that they get a bunch of, oh, good for you, you're doing so good. And they can be on the quote unquote right side of history. So when you have situations like we've had over the last week where basically, you know, we may be looking at a young man being on trial, but let's be real, it's really the media that's on trial here. And that's where we're at right now. And until a lot of these things are faced and dealt with, then nothing is going to change. And celebrities are always going to feel like their political and religious and whatever views are more important than anybody else's because they think their shit is more important than everybody else's. And they know better than everybody else. And they should be using their platforms to change the world and do better. It's like, well, guess what? You're not Martin Luther King. You're not changing shit. You don't even change your own garbage. You know, like you're a adult pretender. You know, it's just like these sports people. I'm not saying they shouldn't have an opinion and they shouldn't speak out, but you got to remember, if you're in a public eye like that, like I do too, I take these things into consideration, that everything you say is going to be analyzed and it's going to affect your brand and your fan base. And if you have that situation where you're a musician or a sports, star or a movie star, you got to take that into consideration and just try and remember that you're being paid to basically do what kids wish, to just dream they can do, right? Like everybody wants to grow up and play football. Everybody wants to grow up and be a rock star. Everybody wants to grow up and be a movie star. Those are the things that everybody wants to be, but only a select few get that opportunity to be. And if you're lucky enough to be there, then you should be smart to just be glad you're there, and not, if you're not going to be a politician, then stay out of politics. If you're not going to be a preacher or a rabbi, then stay the fuck out of religion, right? Like just stay out of it. It's none of your business unless somebody's asking you personally in an interview. That's one thing and you want to get into it. But honestly, if I was asked that kind of stuff, like if you asked me right now, Loki, what my personal religion was, I'd be like, well, if you ask me that off the air, I'll definitely tell you, no problem, as a friend. But personally, I don't see that's what that has to do with anything we're talking about today. So I'd just soon keep that to myself. And I don't think you'd have a problem with that.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. No. And I'd probably tell you the same thing. whatever your religious preferences, sexual preferences, political preferences, if you don't have to constantly share that. I've talked to people a couple of times, and I brought it up. I've always been a moderate. I've always been I will vote and go with who I believe is going to do the most good. If I don't believe you are going to do good, I'm not going to fucking vote for your ass. Doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat. Doesn't matter whether you're a Republican. Doesn't matter who the hell you are. Can people be wrong? Sure as shit we can be wrong. Sure as shit we can vote for the wrong people. Sure as shit we can back the wrong horse. But I think that, because I grew up in a very different kind of situation. I grew up when, all right, you just check mark all the way down this side. Don't bother doing anything on that other side.
Yeah.
And that's what I got told.
No, I hear you exactly. And it's the same on both sides, you know. No, I hear you exactly. And that's the sad part, is that's where we're at now, is that's what's most important, and it shouldn't be.
No, absolutely should not be. Absolutely should not be. And what a way to end the show. Thank you. I want to thank Mexican Ironman for offering the invitation to Tom come on. Thank you so very much, Tom,
no
for
problem,
coming
man.
on.
He's been wanting to make this happen for a while, so I'm glad we could finally make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's been one hell of a conversation. I knew it'd go sideways. But it didn't go
Sorry
sideways
about
in a
that. We
bad
should have
way.
talked about other stuff.
It didn't go sideways in a bad way, though. It went sideways in a good way. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for being here. You guys rock. Thank you so very much.
Before we sign off, can I say Happy Veterans Day?
Yes.
Oh, it's Veterans Day today? Wow. Well, thank you to all the veterans.
And thank you, everyone, for their service.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you both for letting me be here and watch this happen. And I'm so excited. And you guys both know I not only admire, but I love and respect you both immensely. And my days at work and my days in life are better and more enriched because the two of you are in my life, and you offer great content that helps me and other people be the people we are, and that, you know, we can enjoy life through you guys. So thank you both.
And I want to thank really quickly Brandon the Anime Guy for a $5 super chat. MB Geek Let's Talk, thank you, brother, for multiple $5 super chats, and Mexican Ironman for your $10 super chat. You didn't have to do that, you bastard. You guys keep the fires burning bright here in Valhalla. Thank you so very much. I'm going to throw you all $1 this morning. Skol!
A dollar? I've never seen a dollar. Nobody's got a dollar. Let us see the dollar. There it is. It's beautiful. Take your hat off, boy. That's a dollar bill.
Thank you guys so very much for your super chats. You guys keep the fires burning bright here in Valhalla. We're out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Mexican Ironman and I have a special stream happening at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. Make sure that you can be there, or be square. It's the late show with Loki and Mexican Ironman. Until then, everybody take care. Have a great one. Be excellent to each other, and always speak friend to enter. Later, everybody.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.